Hey guys, welcome to episode 11 of Into the Van. I can't believe we're in double figures already. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening and bearing with me. I've had such a blast doing these. This weekend's been absolutely fucking crazy. On Friday, the 7th of August, we released The Next Life, and I cannot believe how well it's been received. It's everything I could hope for as an independent artist. We sold a shit ton of copies. Loads of people were streaming it. We got some amazing reviews. And right now, Cooper is looking at me as he's like falling asleep in the mountain of boxes we've got of all the copies. So if you haven't grabbed a physical copy yet, we've got 180 gram white vinyl with a gatefold artwork, which just looks fucking incredible. And it was drawn by my good friend, Declan Montgomery. I've got a ton of copies of those so far, and we've got CDs. But I've just been blown away by the response. And it's been such a hectic weekend. We had the release of The Next Life on Friday, and it was my girlfriend's birthday on Saturday, so we, had a whole day planned of just hanging out with her. I was trying to stay off Facebook and, not promote a record that only came out a day before, and I asked her to marry me as well, and she said yes. So this weekend's just been a fucking crazy, phenomenal trip, and I'm just so hyped to get to share it with people and tell my family. And it's just been an amazing weekend all around, and I'm so happy to get to release this podcast as well. It's just been a really fun-filled week, and I hope whatever you guys are doing, you're finding some joy and finding some time to have some fun and make some memories and things. But let's get down to brass tacks. This episode is brought to you by The Next Life, which is out right now. I can't believe it's finally out, and the reviews have been amazing. Hope It's Country called it a masterpiece, which is truly high praise. Global Texan Chronicles, they said it was one of the most unique and sincere records to come out this summer, which is fucking really high praise as well. And I've been blown away by the reception, even just fans and people who've bought the record messaging me, and it's just been absolutely fucking incredible. I'm pretty much speechless right now about it, which isn't that helpful for a podcast. If you want to grab your copy, you can go onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. You can listen to it right there. But if you head over to my Bandcamp or mike333west.com, you can listen to the record there and you can grab yourself a copy. And I do ship worldwide. I'm going to drop a track in for you now.
And we'll fly, or don't, that's fine. And I think I see this ain't about me, for all we are is all we are, and all we all we can do. I think we're at a crossroad once again. Wish it was with someone other than my best friends. My head is telling me I have to go. My heart is wishing that it ain't so. So you go left, I'll go right, and I'll catch you in the next life. You go left, I'll go right, and I'll catch you in the next life.
And let me know what you think. Go grab a copy, stream it. I don't care how you listen to it, as long as you listen to it. That's the most important thing. It's the same thing with this podcast. And with Into the Van, at the moment in time, I've done more podcasts out of the van than into the van. So I don't know whether we need a name change to kind of suit the style of the podcast more, and it's not limited to, whenever we were able to get out and into the real world and into the van again. I have no idea. So, let me know what you think. if this podcast needs a name change. I've been talking to some potential guests that will be fucking phenomenal if I get them. But we have a phenomenal guest for you today. We've got Emilia Quinn. She's a northeastern based, well, not northeastern, she's Leeds, York based country musician, and she's fucking phenomenal. She's one of, I think, the UK scene is one that's ready to explode, and I think she's one of the artists that's, you know, at the front of that. And, you know, I think America's had this kind of revival of traditionalist, you know, more rootsy artists going against the mainstream, and I think the UK is about 5-6 years behind that, but we've got the talent and we've got the artists that I think are gonna show a lot of people what the UK country scene has to offer and give it a revival, because it's quite dated, and we go into this a bit in the podcast, but I think what the country scene is now is not what it was 5 years ago, and it's not what it's going to be 5 years in the future, and I'm really excited to see what happens. But Emilia Quinn, Firecracker, her EP came out on the 24th of July, and it's fucking phenomenal. We get into talking about that and how she recorded and wrote it and recorded it over lockdown with, you know, remote recordings from her musicians and things, and it is a phenomenal EP. So go check that out. Listen to this podcast with Emilia Quinn. I had a fucking blast doing this. So without further ado, this is Into the Van, episode 11, with Mike West and Emilia Quinn. Welcome to Into the Van with me, Mike West. Go! Okay, so we're recording, and thank you so much for being on today. How are you doing with this lockdown and everything? How have you been holding up?
I'm not too bad. I'm moved to the countryside recently, so that's been a bit of a saving grace almost, because obviously there's a lot more sort of spaces to go walk and not see so many people about and greenness, which is very, very nice.
Yeah. What was the decision behind moving? Just like to get away from it all, or?
Partly just because I grew up in the countryside, and then I've been living in like cities and that for about 4 years. I just got a bit sick of it, so it was definitely a welcome change, but also just change of scenery, better house. Like the last house we were in wasn't the best, so this one is a really, really cute cottage. It was like house of our dreams basically, so we've
amazing
to get it. Living our best lives now.
That's the best thing. And like, I live in like a terraced house in the Wirral.
Yeah, that's what we used to live in.
Yeah, and I don't mind it. Like, this is the first house I've had like outside of living with my parents and things, moving with my partner. But I've just started building a garden and things, so I've got like a little bit of green now that I get to call my own and grow stuff in, and parsnips and broccoli and all that. And it's, I've been buzzing to see like everything grow as I like look out in the like morning.
I'm like the worst. The most I can do is sunflowers, and even then I've pretty much killed them off. So don't give your plants to me. Don't ask me to water your plants while you're on holiday. Come back to like none.
Yeah. But I also saw, so you're doing a few gigs soon, aren't you? They're the first ones really around the country. Are you excited for them?
Oh my God, it's just like, I could piss myself. It's going to be amazing. I've got two. I've got one on the 15th of August, which is, it's actually a guy that does house concerts called Westview Live, his whole thing, Gary. And he does house concerts, and I played one of his house concerts, and it was like the best gig I've played. It was so much fun. And now he's doing the spaced out garden sessions, so he can do all sort of the social distancing and keep it safe for everyone, but still have some fucking live music.
Oh, amazing.
And then he's doing outdoors as well in near Manchester on the 23rd of August.
Oh, cool. And like, obviously, like I've been having, on one night I had a dream that all I did was set on my gear at a festival. I had a dream, and all it was I took my gear, all my PA system and everything out the van, and just set it up in a field. And then the next night I had a nightmare where I played a gig and got every single lyric wrong. I was every single chord, every single part of like one of my favorite songs wrong. And at the same time, while I was on stage, someone behind me was just filing paperwork. Which for an acoustic gig, you could hear like papers rustling and just like filing cabinets slam. And it was like, yeah, so I'm internalizing something from not playing gigs for so long.
Well, so you should Google it. You should Google what it means. What does it mean when someone's filing paperwork while you're gigging in a dream?
Yeah, but especially for like acoustic gigs, you can normally hear pin drops and the slightest thing. So for someone to have the audacity to do their taxes while I'm trying to play.
Such a silly, trivial thing as taxes as well. Like, God, do it later.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know if I'm stressing too much about going back to gigging live, but I know I'm going to start treating it as like, it's not necessarily worrying me. I did a Zoom gig the other week and it kind of showed that like my voice hurt at the end of it, and it was only about a 40-minute gig and stuff. So it's like, I know the same way that like if I was training for like a physical event, I'm going to have to start putting some actual time into maybe doing a half hour a week of gigging. Like just running through
played
songs.
Standing Up for like the first time in ages today to sort of practice for Friday for the EP virtual launch one view. I thought just for the fun of it, I'll do a bit of standing up and see if I can still do it. Oh my God, it's knackering.
You don't realize how like rusty you get so quick, and that's the thing I'm going to try and start building it up again.
It's like recording vocals as well. I was like, bloody hell, I'm out of breath. And like, these were easy live. I'm like, how am I not doing it in the studio?
Yeah. And like, I don't know about you, but like, because of like, sometimes I do like that growling things, I've got like a way to do it where it doesn't hurt. But for some reason at this gig, I just completely forgot how to sing properly. And it was just like shredding the back of my throat. So I'm going to have to.
Sometimes where you just blank on something and it won't work.
Yeah, I was talking to Josh the other day about it as well, telling him about my nightmare, and that kind of put the fear bit into him as well. So I think he's going to start practicing a bit more.
Spreading it around.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, did you see that video that came out this morning of that American guy and the woman got on stage with him?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah, so then that's worried me about live shows and things. If someone's going to be cocky and try and walk up on stage.
It will just get sort of say it's the fact that she like tugged him by his bandana and just coughed in his face, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what possesses someone to go do that? She must be steaming." Like,
yeah, just the audacity. But I've had a few people walk onto stage while I've been playing to like fuck with me. But like,
I've never had that.
Really.
Maybe I could give off a vibe.
Maybe I had one guy, and it was one of the worst gigs I've ever played in Liverpool. And it was a rough part of Liverpool because Liverpool's really nice normally. But there was a table of just drug dealers at the front of the stage. And they had like burner phones and they were just fighting the entire time. And I was playing and one guy literally, as he walked past, just hit like my strumming hand and knocked the pick out of my hand. But there was like 8 guys there. So it was like, what the fuck do you do? And then there was a bar fight like 20 minutes later on.
The bar, feel like you're in the Blues Brothers movie.
It felt like that, but it was during a love song as well. So it was like the quietest song I was playing, and this bar fight erupted, and my girlfriend was there, and we were just looking at each other like, can we just fucking leave now? But looking back on that, I'd still rather gig like that than not gig at all. Like it's been since March.
It was like advice where like you can never gig again, or every gig you play there's got to be a bar fight with like 8 drug dealers. I'd rather take the bar fight.
Yeah. At least you're getting out and about and meeting new people.
I'll start throwing punches at you. Fuck off.
Yeah. With like 8 drug dealers, you should be able to befriend at least one of them. Maybe shift an EP. It's a numbers game at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it must have money. They've got to have money. Like, just use that. Be like, buy merch.
Yeah. It's like CDs.
I won't buy your merch, but you can buy mine. Yeah.
CDs are dead good to do lines on, trust me. And just try and shift as many as you can.
That is a good selling point. That is a really good selling point. Oh, God. Wow.
Yeah. And that's not from experience or anything. I've just seen that on the internet.
the internet is a wonderful place.
Yeah. But with EPs and things, you've got this podcast will be out in August, so your EP Firecracker will already be out by now.
Yeah,
But,
I've been out for a little bit.
Yeah. What was the writing process and recording process behind that? Did you do it during the lockdown, or was it pre-lockdown that you started on it?
So much. The writing process, I've had these songs, they've sort of added up over a little bit. So they've all sort of come from a similar period in my life. But yeah, they've sort of built up over the past year and a bit. And the recording process has sort of been since January. We went into the studio. Luckily, we missed all of this shite and went into the studio and recorded the drums. And then we were planning on going back in the studio, but obviously that wasn't going to happen because we then went into lockdown pretty quickly. We were sort of doing all the getting it together and getting who was going to be on the record and what all the parts were going to be and what we wanted to do with it. So we recorded the acoustic guitar before that at mine because I've got a little sort of home setup. So we did that at mine, and then we went into lockdown. It was like, right, okay, we need to do the rest of the EP somehow because I didn't want to put it on hold indefinitely because you don't know when you'd be able to go back. We only just sort of maybe sneakily able to go back into the studio. So I wanted to sort of go ahead with it, and me sort of having a recording set up at home, I was like, well, if I find, new musicians that are able to record at home, then we can still do this. It's still, an option. So Ben, my guitarist, who did a guitar and a pedal steel, he had a setup, so he recorded at home, sent it to me. My bassist, he's got a whole home studio, so he recorded at home and sent it to me, and then I passed it on to the producer and did all my vocals and that myself. And then he sort of producer worked his magic. Arjun, he's brilliant. He did my first EP and Mistakes, and he's done this EP now, and I will stick with him because he's fantastic and he totally gets my vision and what I'm going for. And he's really outdone himself on this record. Like I've always had a thing where when I listen to my own recordings, I'm like, oh my God, I sound so amateur. I sound so shit. And this is the first record I've ever done where I'm like, oh my God, this actually sounds professional. Like, this sounds amazing. And not because it's me or any of my songs or anything like that, but just like the production on it and all the layering and how it's all come together is just, yeah, it's so much better than I could have ever dreamed it would be. Like, I thought it was going to be good, but wow, I'm so excited to put it out. But yeah, so written over a while and then mostly recorded in lockdown.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's the thing, it is showing how doable like all this portable technology and things is now. It's not, you don't have to rely on going into an actual studio and pacing yourself out. But the trick I've always done, because I think everyone's really critical about their own sound, is what I'd do on Spotify is I'd make a playlist and I'd put one of my tracks in it off the EP and then shuffle it. And then you don't know when it's going to show up. So like you can kind of hopefully tell if it sounds of quality and of like that standard.
When I've been listening to like the mixes for because obviously we've done it by distance, we can't just sit in the studio and go, right, I want to tweak this there and I want to tweak there. That has a lot of back and forth. So it is more time consuming because you have to go back and forth and you have to sort of have those conversations and then wait and then get it sent again and download it and play it and go, right, okay, I need this done. But when I've been referencing those mixes at home, I've been putting on Spotify for a bit, getting used to listening to that, and then putting the mix on. And if it's sort of not jarring, like the difference in that, then sound.
Oh, good. Yeah. And with
car tests as well, lots of car testing.
Oh, really? Yeah.
At 10 o'clock in the evening, like, right, we're going for a drive then.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is like making sure it's across all different platforms. So it's making sure it plays on vinyl, making sure it plays on the car and wherever else people are going, on your phone as well, because that's where most people are listening to stuff now.
A shocking amount of people use their phone. I'm like, why? Put all this effort in to make it sound amazing on these speakers, stereo mix and all that, and you go listen to it through a crappy phone speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. With like Firecracker, your EP, what did you go into it differently than you did with Wrote Off, like your first one? Was it like anything really standing out that you wanted to write about, or was it just kind of like the next collection of songs?
I think it was the way that I sort of chose the songs were the ones that it's a sassy EP. Like it's all sort of the sassy songs. It's the grit and the sort of saying, you know, I'm fucking here now. You know, at me kind of thing. Thank you. I'm having t-shirts thrown at me. Wrote off. I literally they're in my songbook, and I literally wrote those 3 songs one after the other.
Really?
And they were sort of literally like probably in the space of a month. I had the song. I was like, right, these are what I'm gonna record. Whereas Firecracker it was longer. It was a longer process. It was sort of picking and choosing. Well, I like this song from this sort of time. I like this song. I like this one, you know, and going through what I'd written over, it must have been a year and a half or so. And then polishing them off and, you know, working up in them and making sure that they sort of flow nicely as a record. Because originally it was supposed to be a 5-track EP and Mistakes was supposed to be included on it, but in the end I found that one, because Mistakes was recorded with different musicians at a different time, and 2, it was just slightly off from the flow of the EP. I ended up not putting it on there.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
well, little single.
Oh, cool. And you released it as a single, and like, how did that, like, what was the reception from that? Because like, it was my first full band, because Wrote Off was very sort of acoustic, very nice, very pretty. My sort of finding my feet kind of record. And yeah, bringing the full band sound in, I was a little bit nervous about it, and I'm still like a little bit cautious because it is very different. If people only know me from the CD that I released before, this is going to be a very big change. I don't think it's a bad change, definitely not personally. I much prefer it. But yeah, Mistakes I was a bit like, oh, okay, let's see how this is going to go down, almost testing the water for Firecracker. But it went down really well and got lots of good reviews, so I'm happy with how it went, and it's given me more confidence with Firecracker and how that's going to go down with people. Oh, good. I think it's that interesting with bands and things because, you know, when people release their first EP, like mine was probably the same as yours. It was just like stripped back. It's acoustic and vocals and not much else on it. So people always try and, like, the biggest thing I always get when I'm playing live just on my own is, I wish you had a band with you. I'm like, well, I don't. And then if you explained the cost behind having a band with you, and like, if you were like, if you want to pay me like £700 to be here with a full band, I can.
I don't think people realise how much it actually does cost, because this is people's jobs. This is what they do for a living. You can't just we don't just roll up to a venue and think, oh yeah, sure, I fancy a gig tonight. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, like I don't mind playing for fuck all, but I don't feel like the people who have to be on stage with me should have to also take that decision. In a position, isn't it? Is sort of expecting that from them, and yeah, I'm the same. I can't just expect someone to do that for me and just be like, oh yeah, it's for nothing, but it will be fun.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing, especially in like this singer-songwriter thing, because you see even artists like Tyler Childers, where he'll go out on his own, and then people will still be like, I wish you had the full band. But then you see him with the full band, and then a lot of people will be like, I wish you were just on your own. And it's hard to it's hard to like balance those expectations of what people bring. That's why I've kind of, with like the Next Life album I've done, I've got like pedal steel and fiddle and things on it. But to me, that exists in its own like capacity. That's not necessarily something that can ever happen again, because I know that putting it to record is committing those songs to that one space and time, and everything else will always change with a live performance.
I agree with that.
And it's hard to try and explain to people when it's like, oh, I wish you had X or I wish you had Y. And it's like, I might do down the line, but the songs at the purest core is still this.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. That's, I like acoustic gigs for that. I like Writers Round especially for that. That's sort of, it's just the purest form of the song. And like, I understand the logic behind saying, oh, you know, you want it to sound live like it does on the record, but I'm the same sort of, for me, like that record, you can have fun with recording that you can't do live. Like you can put layers, you can put effects, you can put things on a record that you can't necessarily do live without having, you know, a shit ton of kit. Yeah. And as well, like that's the special thing about seeing it live. You can listen to a CD, you can listen to that over and over if you want to. Like, you really want to hear it for like the record, go listen to the record. You know, it's there, it's always there for you to pick up whenever you want. But a live version, that's one time, that's in the moment. You're never going to see that again. You can record it on your phone, it's not the same. You know, you're never going to have that moment again. And like, why not change it up? Why just try and replicate something you've already done? Why not just go in and be like, right, okay, here's a little treat for you. You've heard the record, but here's the live version. Here's, you know, a bit of a twist on it, or here's just how it sounds right now.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And I think, like, because I really enjoy, like, Siv, like my partner, she's been to like loads of my gigs. And sometimes I'll throw in something either extra, or I'll do a pause, and she'll be the only one who picks up on it. But it's kind of like a little, she'll be like, why did you pause that long for that part? And I'm like, oh, so you noticed it. And it'll just be like, or I'll pause and like, while someone's talking and stare at them for a minute. Or I'll do something that is just like, for me to keep those songs like fresh and fun. Because a live performance, the worst thing I'd ever want to be is bored during my own show.
It's the worst feeling. Like when you just, I've had it a couple, because I used to sort of sing in restaurants and stuff like that. And I just can't, I don't have it in me anymore. Like,
no.
And I have mad respect for musicians that make their living like that, because it's not something I can do. And I think it's a great job. It's fantastic for the people that can do it. But for me, I've been there, I've done it, and I just feel like I literally feel my soul dying
yeah,
when
same.
I'm doing it, because I just can't. I'm a very full-on person. I'm a very active person, like in my mind and everything. Like some of the shit I come out with is cray, and I won't ever say it in public. And I just can't. I always need that sort of change, and that sort of in the moment, that sort of like that live version, like just being like, this is what it's like right now, and then it could be different. I can't go night to night playing the same set. No.
Yeah, I always try and like, I'll always write the set list on the like half hour before I go on, just to get a vibe of you. Yeah.
And that's not on purpose. It's usually because I've just totally forgotten to, or I'm still haven't decided what I want to play.
Yeah, but that's like the nice thing. That's what I do. I literally get to a place, and like if it's a rock bar or if it's a coffee shop or whatever it is, and I'll like kind of like, either if there's acts on before me and stuff, I'll listen to what they're doing, what the reaction is. And then it's also what haven't I played in a while that might be the most fun for me to do. But you were saying, like, with your EP, it's sassy, and obviously Firecracker is a self-descriptive term for you. Was that an intentional way to try and define yourself further? Because I know the hardest thing I think about songwriters and like country musicians in the UK scene is you don't want to slip into cliche, and you want to become like make your own flag, and you want to become like not necessarily someone that can like, they can recognize you off the bat, but you want to be able to put your personality at the forefront without becoming, again, like cliched or something that's a bit stagnant.
No, definitely. And like I don't think I ever sort of I never sat down and wrote and sort of think, right, I'm going to write a song and I'm going to be really sassy about it. Because I very much, when it's a song that I like, and when it's a song that, you know, the songs that go on the records and stuff, they're songs that I've written very quickly, and they're songs that I've written in the moment, and that's what I'm feeling then and there, or that's the story that I've got in my head. So I know I do struggle to sort of sit down, right, I'm going to write this kind of song today. I'm not one of those writers personally. And it's just kind of happened that they're sassy and they're gritty because that's who I am. That's what I'm like. I'm sarcastic as shit. And I am sassy and I am gritty, and I've found sort of, since Wrote Off, I found a confidence, you know, through some major changes in my life. And some very good people around me, like Tammy and some good friends who sort of showed me, no, you can be badass too, and that's okay. And, you know, you don't need to conform to some idea of what country is or what music should be. I'm very much for, you know, the mindset that if you like it and it makes you feel something, sound. If it makes you, whether it makes you feel like you want to dance, or it makes you feel like you want to party, or you want to drink, or you want to cry, and it doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be super emotional all the time. If it makes you feel like you want to wind down your windows and drive down country lanes really fast, awesome. It's made you feel something though. Like there's nothing worse than having a song, especially when you write. It's gutting when you write a song like that, where you just sort of think, "Oh my god, this is so boring." Like shocked at it. No, if you feel something fantastic, if it's your cup of tea, amazing, enjoy it.
That's like really because I've obviously listened to your Wrote Off EP and it's brilliant. So I'm really excited for Firecracker. But the thing that's like made me like notice was like obviously a lot of the UK country scene. When you see a girl with an acoustic guitar, it's pop music with an acoustic guitar. And that's kind of what is the norm at the moment. And I think that was what was really great about your stuff was like, oh shit, like it's something completely different and it's gritty, and it's sarcastic. And it's weird to see, like I wish more people were able to like find their voice. But then I don't want to shit on people and maybe their voice is writing pop music from an acoustic guitar, and it's always
nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
like, there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, don't ever hold yourself back and stop yourself from being who you want to be just because you think that's what someone else wants. Yeah, because it's not worth it. You won't be happy. Been there, done that. It's not fucking worth it.
Yeah, I think that can be a danger in like certain scenes because there is a archetype or a template of what a musician is and what it sounds like, and that if you follow these like steps and like that song structure and that that you'll be able to fit into that certain demographic. But what I've seen in the last like 3 years since the country scene started expanding with people like yourself and Josh Bettis and Alex Tempest, Lars Pluto, the scene's gotten not younger, but it's a lot more like younger artists coming in and trying to define their own voices, and that's shaping the country scene in such an interesting way. And it's kind of like what the Americans have been doing for the last like 5 or 6 years. So you see that Benjamin Todd and Sierra Farrell influence slowly creeping into the UK. And I think the change at the moment is really interesting, the dynamic shifting. I'm really interested to see where it carries on to.
I definitely see that, and I see what you're talking about. And I think I also see it's like it's a little bit volatile at the moment. There seems to be a lot of arguments breaking out over really, really silly things. Like, I was just having this conversation in the car with Tammy, and I was saying, you know what, like, can people just be nice? Yeah. And if you haven't got anything nice to say, then scroll. Yeah. You don't have to get into an argument every day on Facebook. You don't have to say to someone, "Oh, you're shit," or "Your opinion is wrong." Well, no, you're entitled to your opinion, absolutely. But do you have to put someone else down because theirs is not the same, or you don't like their music, or you don't like their cover art, or you think the way that they're going about their career is wrong? That's fine. And if that's your opinion, that's cool. If you want to have conversations about it, cool. But you don't need to go up to them and shit on their, their vision and what they're doing, because that's what they're doing. Yeah. If it's hurting you, no. If it's not hurting you, then fine. Leave them alone.
It's weird how there's such an us and them mentality straight away. Yeah. And it's really strange because you know that nothing they're doing is affecting you in any way, shape or form. So that's why, like with Road Country, like what me and like Josh kind of like kickstarted was we've tried as much as we can to stay out of like politics of other groups and things, because we're not a part of like that in any way. We're just kind of like sharing what we want, and it's been so hard. We've tried all the time, like when we're messaging each other, if you put a post that either shit on someone or put a controversial opinion out, it would get traffic and it would get engagement straight away. But definitely. To try and maintain a positivity has been so hard.
It's hard, but it's definitely worth it because it's refreshing. That's what I like about Road Country as well, is that it's just a bit refreshing because it's something a bit different. It's making a space that's accessible as well, because not let's be totally honest, not all the scene is totally accessible to everyone, and that's okay. There's a French saying, and I think about it a lot. Ça prend du tout pour faire un monde. My accent's horrible, I'm really sorry. But basically it takes a bit of everything to make a world, and it does. It would be very boring otherwise, and we would have nothing to write songs about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely don't think that anyone needs to be stepping on anyone else, because someone's not going to come up and be like, right, I'm your fan, but because I'm your fan, I'm not her fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so strange. Like I've always said, like the rising tide is the one that lifts all ships. So it's at the moment, it's such great change, but it is a lot of people are like dogmatic about what things are and what they should be. And it is really interesting in the UK scene at the moment to just see how everything's shifting. And it is with artists like yourself that are like pushing those boundaries, which have been really interesting.
Well, thank you. Didn't do it on purpose. Like.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone really tries to.
It's totally intentional.
Yeah. Like it's such a hard thing. And like, I don't know, do you focus much on like a social media strategy or a marketing thing? Because I've kind of got that brain for it where it's like, do you kind of think about like your posts or your engagement or what you're going to try and target people with?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, some of my social media is just a bit of fun, but it is the biggest free tool to independent businesses, to independent artists, to everyone to put their ideas and themselves out there. So it is. I do think it is beneficial to think about it, and I do try to. So I did a music business masters, so I do sort of have that spin on things and do try to think about it and be a little bit careful with what I'm doing and try and structure it in a way that I can just get my message out effectively and reach people. Because at the end of the day, I'm not saying I want to be rich and famous. I'm not saying I want to be an influencer. I'm not saying I want millions of followers, but I do have something to say. And if that connects with someone, and if that makes someone feel less alone or makes someone feel a bit badass, a bit of confidence, or anything at all, if that can connect with someone, that's my goal. So, it's reaching the right people and those people that will connect and will find something in your music and, find comfort in that message.
Yeah, amazing. That's such an important point, is like, you can kind of forget, especially with all the arguments and negativity, that this is all meant to connect and bring people together, which is why I think I get really frustrated when people are so argumentative and like screaming in the comments. Is like, this is meant to be fun and this is meant to be a nice, like music's meant to be a good thing. So why is everyone turning this into either like a dick measuring contest and like, I've done this and I've done that, and it's like... But it's just like, why can't we just be like, because I've put like a few like road country things have come up on like the group and people have been negative, and it's like I have to keep going into the comments and making other posts like, guys, the main thing we're meant to be doing is fucking sharing music and posting like positive things. So can we not? And it's always just drowned out by like, but I've done this.
It's tiring. Like, there's no need. It's a lot easier to just be positive and just be chilled out. It's you don't spend the effort typing that nasty comment. If you just let it go.
Yeah, because like
a lot more effort into just being negative to other people, whereas you could just spend that time doing something else that you actually like doing.
Yeah, because I've had this conversation with Richard Glover from Kings and Queens a fair bit, because he loves to like engage with people, and like I get his perspective on calling people out. And it's like, when it's obviously like racism and homophobia, he's like on it and he'll jump on it straight away.
That would get called out straight away.
Yeah. And it's like, those are the things that we can like, but then it's, you start just arguing with everyone. And I've always been of the mindset of just like, I'm just going to delete them, because there's that, like, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. And for my like mental health and shit, I'm just like, I can't be fucked with any of yous, because Facebook isn't society really. It's like the worst reflection of it. So I don't want to entertain, like, my Facebook feed's pretty positive because I've just deleted like all the assholes off it.
That's a great strategy.
But like, I think you can fall into the dangers of networking and things and adding people, and you have all these like cross posts of people you aren't even really tacitly involved with or spoke to in real life, and it's just like, why do I have you on here? Isn't this meant to be a fun thing for me to do?
I know. It's when you're going through and you're going like, who are you? Why are you on my Facebook?
Yeah.
I don't know who you are.
Yeah. I do this dead. Like,
you do something or other, or you're related to something or something from that gig.
Yeah, I do this dead ass holy thing where I'll like have a clear out with like when like the birthday messages pop up and it's like so and so's birthday. It'll remind me that I don't actually know them and then I'll delete them.
If you can't wish them happy birthday, don't have them.
Yeah, that should be the Facebook rule, really. If you don't wish them a happy birthday, you clearly aren't friends.
Brilliant. I love that.
With going back to your songwriting process and stuff, like with Mistakes, you said it was different. Was it, obviously it wasn't intentionally different, it was meant to be on the EP, but was it you went in with a certain mindset for that song and then it kind of switched when you recorded it, or was it after the fact you recorded it, you realised it wasn't to fit with that EP?
It was definitely after it, because it was all recorded before the EP was. But it was also written quite a long time before sort of the rest of the songs came about. I think it was written more towards when Wrote Off came out than I actually sort of wrote the other songs. So it's quite, for me, it's quite an old song in a way. I've had it for a while. But yeah, I think just because it just came from such a different time in my life, it just didn't quite slot in to like the vibe that Firecracker's going for. And you do find that you find out with like any, your favourite artists, they have their different sort of periods of time where they've done this kind of record and then it's evolved into this kind of record. And Pink's like the best one at doing that. She's genre under the planet, like insane.
Yeah, she's one of them artists that like, I don't think, obviously she sells out stadiums, but I don't think she gets the credit in terms of being like a songwriter or a actual like a musician, like a musician's musician, as much as she should, because how she writes and who she writes with and things is so calculated and so well done that like me and Siobhan, we're massive fans. Like we always like put on like her records and stuff, and it's something that's really interesting to see how she's from like what's the first song where it's Pill? Is it Pill?
I don't know.
But from like that first one where it was kind of like her goth phase where she was marketed as like the anti-Britney and the anti-Christina Aguilera, where she wasn't like that polished pop princess, to then how she's like gone from like that to like a next evolution then when she was like a mom and then she was like a rebel, and it was her like clearly defined stages of really an interesting songwriter's journey, up there with like the same way you see like Johnny Cash's like life change through music. There's not that many artists that you can clearly see a lifespan in their work.
Elvis as well, a little bit.
Yeah.
You can see that sort of journey. And then he went to Vegas. It's like, that's what it is though, especially when you're writing about your life, you're writing about your experience. Dixie Chick, or the Chicks now. You can see that I've been listening to some of their new stuff, their new album today. And you can see that transition into a new stage and embracing, the new technology, the new sound, the new like what's trending, and then using that in a way that works for them. But obviously they've written about stuff, like I watched an interview with them, but obviously they've written about stuff that's gone on in their lives as well. And that's the thing, when you're writing about your experiences, you're growing as a person, you're going through your life, and your songwriting follows that journey. And the music itself and the lyrics and everything, that will all reflect what's going on and what's going on at that time. Chances are it's probably not exactly that time, and it'll happen like a year or so beforehand, and you're only just hearing it because that the time that it takes to put out your record and make available on record. But it is that you are, when you're following an artist like that, you are following that journey.
Yeah, and like obviously this is the first time we've met. Well, we've not met face to face yet. We were meant to meet in March for Whiskey Kisses, and I was gonna get you for the podcast then, but obviously the world ended to prevent us from hanging out, which seems a bit much. But how long have you been performing and playing as like a solo artist, or when did you first pick up a guitar?
So I can't remember exactly when I first picked up a guitar. I think I was about 10 or 11. Might have been slightly older, but it was around that. And that's sort of around when I started songwriting as well. I started songwriting when I was 11. And I've been performing on and off as a solo artist for a few years, but it's only sort of June last year was my debut record. Dog's barking. So I've got really mouthy staffy and no one's allowed to walk past the house. Just barking. But yeah, I think sort of it was since, so it would have been, that came out like 2018 was when I sort of really debuted into, as a solo artist, into the country scene. I just left a band that I'd been in and just wanted to break away and do my own kind of thing. I was going in a different direction, that sort of country direction. So I had my gig with Royal South was my first proper country gig in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Gulliver was in Manchester. I was really scared. And yeah, and then I was just sort of, so since about 2018. So I'm pretty new, to be fair. I'm quite a newbie.
Oh, amazing. And what like influences, what was like your first like songwriting influences and the people who you were like, I want to do this because of like them?
Oh man, very first? I've had this conversation before. So, Hannah Montana.
Really?
Yeah, was a diehard Hannah Montana fan when I was younger. I've always had some connection with music. Music's always been part of my life. It's always, I've grown up listening to it because, my parents always had it on. I've got some musical family and it's always been there. But I think, Hannah Montana was sort of when I was like, pop star, yay. And then when I started really sort of getting more into contemporary music, coming away from like classical, because I'm classically trained on piano, but I came away from that a bit to try contemporary music and started songwriting. And I sort of, I don't know that there was one particular influence, but it was just that I always listened to lyrics, I always listened to layers and stuff, especially like Mika and things like that. Like his production and his like instrumentation is just insane. And that just kind of, not even consciously, one day just went, I want to do that. It just kind of became a goal subconsciously, and here I am now.
I think like obviously like Hannah Montana, it's like one of those like hyper realistic things, but like I relate in the same way. I picked up a guitar and stuff because of Kiss, and you like, I think it's the same real thing where you see these like hyper realistic, hyper exaggerated rock stars or musicians, and that is when you're at like a young age, because I found Kiss when I was like 10 or like younger. It's like
that dream, you're impressionable and everything's doable, everything achievable in life when you're sort of that age, and especially when you're in an environment like my parents are very nurturing of music and stuff like that. They really encouraged it and went out of their way to make sure I had access to music lessons and instruments and everything like that, which I'm forever thankful for, because I really wouldn't be what I'm doing today if it wasn't for that. But yeah, definitely in that environment, when you're impressionable, when you see that sort of like in your face, oh yeah, it's the best of both worlds kind of thing.
But you see,
you're just like, I want to do that.
Yeah, but you see that bombastic, what you think is a reality. So when you pick up a guitar and you realize that like there's other ways, like that's not the reality, that's our reality, and you can find that like even just like playing open mics is a version of what that is, and it's such like a good gateway to start getting into like music and performing. Obviously it's not Madison Square Garden and whatever, but it's still, you're performing music and you're still.
I started on open mics, like that's I think every sort of musical journey started at open mics. What they're there for, that's what you do. It's kind of the natural path, isn't it?
I did an open mic in Liverpool, one of the first ones I went to, and they didn't even have microphones. It was literally, you went into a cafe and it was the top half of a vegetarian restaurant, and it was this guy, and you could tell he'd done LSD. Like you just from like looking at him.
But you just look at someone, you're like,
yeah, it's like he was just this like aging hippie. And he recited the same 3 poems every open mic. And it was, you literally just like, you're all sat in the restaurant at tables, like spaced out across the entire room. And then you literally just stood up where you were and played. And then you'd sit back down. And it was such an interesting thing. I think like for me, especially that was really
like fun to not even have a reliance on a microphone. But I remember that being like a super fun open mic to go to. And I remember I pointed out, I was like, well, it's not even an open mic technically. And he went, oh yeah. And I don't think anyone had ever pointed out to him that he didn't have a microphone.
Oh, that's really cute. That was cool though. And I was like making the point again, like if you like what you're doing, awesome, do it. If it makes you feel good, do it. If you want to recite the same 3 poems, do it.
Yeah, I can still half remember the ones he was doing because he called it the poet tree, and he'd mime a tree as he did it.
Oh my gosh.
It was a really fun experience, and like that, it was also, I've had like a few technical malfunctions while I've been performing. Like I had in the castle when I was playing once in Manchester, the guitar cut out. And while I was playing Night and Day with Chris Shiflett, the guitar cut out. And because I'd been like, without a mic and stuff, you just carry on playing because the beauty of an acoustic instrument is you don't need it to be amped up really.
Drum it a little bit harder and you sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such, I love music. It's such an interesting and like multifaceted thing. And part of the reason I did this podcast was because I want to sit down with people like yourself and things and talk about all these different like ways in, these different influences and things. And
it's interesting to see other people's perspectives on it as well. Like it's sort of their mindset and how they go about it, or what they think about it. It is interesting to sort of see that perspective.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping with this, because it's like I have chats with like you guys, and even just like one little thing that he can like say is like it can just completely change your perspective on things. And it's the same as like, like Stephen King's On Writing book, where it's like part biography, and it's some of the biographical things are more informative than the actual this is how you write a book.
Yeah.
So with obviously Firecracker's out on July 24th. You've got the virtual EP launch. Are you looking at the moment for touring in 2021, or are you feeling anything out at the moment for the next phase of pushing it?
It's something that is on the cards. Can't say a right lot about it. But if you follow me, then you'll see the news. So yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to gigging real gigs again, and we'll take it sort of kind of from there. But there was a cancelled tour that was supposed to happen in April with Emma Moore. We were supposed to go co-headline around the UK, and obviously that didn't happen because 2020 got cancelled.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will be rescheduled, and we'll get out there and see everyone that we've missed so much.
And have you toured much around the UK before? Because obviously you've only, with like Right Off was 2018, was it? So have you toured much of the UK?
2019, it was only last year that it came out. Not really like proper tour, like the we call it the Fire and Whiskey tour. That was going to be my sort of first proper like actual tour. But I have gigged a lot sort of around the UK and met some lovely people, been to some places I've never been before.
Yeah. That's the best thing. And I think the UK is really good for that, because, you can get to the other side of the country in 4 hours. So even without booking like but even booking like, in a weekend, you can do a fair chunk of the UK in it, because everywhere is quite close together compared to Europe or America and things. So I think we're really lucky in that perspective. Where
north as well.
Yeah.
I'm from down south, and moving up north, I'm like, wow, all the cities are really close together.
Yeah, because basically with the north, like I could do Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds and back from like a Friday to Monday with a few stops in between. And it's really nice to not have to, put aside 2 weeks for a tour. But I've been like messaging Josh because I want to do a tour with him. And it's I'm trying to wait to book these things because
I want to be a fly on the wall for that tour. Every time I post something like related to you guys, you just like having bickering in the comments. It's amazing.
Yeah. The thing is though, while he's commenting on that, insulting me, he's messaged me on Messenger about something else.
All for show. It's all the PR stuff.
He's all just trying to act cool while he's like insulting me publicly.
It was the Maris Piper comment today that got me. Really?
Yeah. But even like I play Dungeons and Dragons with him every week. It's not like we go without speaking to each other, but every now and then he'll just try and like
full goals.
yeah. But it's just like, yeah, he just always pokes at me on Facebook. He's the only negative person I keep on my Facebook. Yeah. But like the thing with like touring and what I really want to do, like I've only done one full UK tour, and getting to actually commit to 2 weeks of touring is so fucking fun. And I'm so excited to get back to it in 2021. And like I had a European tour get cancelled in March, and I'm so excited to get back into Europe and hopefully before Brexit shits on everything, so we can get back out and do something good before the island sinks into the sea where it belongs.
Yeah. Just one thing after the other, innit?
It is. It's just been a constant shitstorm. Yeah, I remember I saw a thing where it was like the world was meant to end in 2012, but since then has anything seemed real?
I'm just gonna go have an existential crisis.
Yeah. Well, I got a load of Ouija boards delivered today, so
I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're really like, because the LP I'm making, I got like my mate to design like a full gatefold for it, because my way of thinking for the album was, if it's the only album I ever release, I wanted it to be able to like stand the test of time. So I was thinking like, you know, I'm dead and gone, died in infamy, and someone will be flicking through a record store and, you know, be able to pull it out and it'll still hold up next to any other record they pull out of a production. So it's a
solid plan. That is a solid plan.
Yeah, but it's a full gatefold thing, and he did a full Ouija board with it, but included like the album credits and the artists who played on it. So I thought it was too good a design to not have a full Ouija board on. And my partner wasn't happy about me getting like 11 Ouija boards delivered to the house to like bring that level of evil on.
That's some bad juju.
Yeah, I think if you open them and don't use them, it's fine. It's the same
don't try using it and you'll be sound.
Yeah, again, it's the same evil as a Monopoly board. It's not till you put like a glass on it and start trying to like communicate with people.
I don't know, try putting a glass on a Monopoly board, see what happens.
Yeah, get accused of cheating.
Can't be any worse. Might end up with some property.
Yeah, but I don't know, I'm not a big spiritual believer or thing in that, so I'm just excited to have something. Oh, really?
I'm certain that there was something living in my old house. Part of the reason why we were just like, we want to get out of it, because there's some creepy stuff going on here, we don't like it. But no, I'm a little bit of a believer in sort of spiritual shit.
I say I'm not until all the lights go out, and then
then you're a believer. Yeah. The light bulb blows, and you're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like I'm getting into bed and like my girlfriend's not allowed to switch the lights off before I'm like, my feet are off the ground in case a monster gets me.
You got like run.
Yeah.
Run and they can't catch you, it's fine.
Yeah. But it's weird with like those type of things, because like I've talked about this with my mate John, because he worked in this old building in Liverpool for a biennial, like an art exhibition, and that building had some horrific vibes. But then it's kind of how you interpret those vibes is always like interesting to certain people, and people like interpret it to be like a negative thing, people be a positive thing. But it's weird how there's always something there. So I'm not spiritual, but I don't know about like entities and things like that. So Ouija boards aren't gonna bother me until the cat like stares off into the room, and then I'll have to move house. Something
starts just moving on its own.
Yeah.
You're like, no, burn them all.
Yeah. But because I've got 2 cats now, and one's trying to claw up out a window at the moment, but he's hunting flies or something stupid.
Yeah. My dog just kind of, I don't even know. I don't even think she's an actual dog. I'm pretty sure she's just a person in a dog's body. Yeah, she can well communicate. It's weird. Spiritual, telling you.
That is the thing, because like there's loads on like human evolution and stuff where the 6 senses, like where you feel people watching and stuff, is the same thing as like prey, like knowing there's a predator around. So it's the same thing as, so I kind of get it from that, because I got dead deep into like Buddhism and psychology, where they broke down what the Buddhist perception of life was into like the worldview, and it was really interesting to see like how your perception of something, your mind assumes the worst because it's a survival instinct.
Yeah,
So if you
bias.
Yeah. So if you see like something floating in the water, you assume the worst because then that's going to keep you from getting eaten by a crocodile or whatever. So even if you see like, yeah, yeah. So even if you see like something floating or you see like a coiled bit of rope and your brain interprets it as a snake, it's rather you look like a dickhead than get bitten by a snake.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather not get bitten by a snake. Creepy fuckers.
But yeah, it's such a.
How do you trust something that's got like no legs, no arms, and just kind of goes like this?
Yeah. I used to have a pet snake. It was a corn snake, and it grew to 5 foot, and then it bit me, so I sold it.
That's me. I was like 2 inches off of me.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just coiled up one day, and I was changing its water, and I put my hand in, and it must have thought it was like a mouse, so it struck and bit me. So I sold it and bought an electric guitar with it instead.
See, that I can get behind.
Yeah, so that was the process then. Any picture you see of me with a flying V, that guitar was bought from selling a snake.
Did you at least name it after the snake?
Yeah, it's called Whiplash after my snake Whiplash. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, but naming guitars is such a weird pastime.
Yeah. I haven't actually named any of mine. I think I've only that's a lie. I've named one of mine. And I've named my black one that I use in Dad Garden. I've named it EJ. The totally unoriginal reason that the plaque on the headstock says EJ.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got Whiplash was like the white one I got the snake with. My other 00 Pro, the Sunburst one, I named Pathy after the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot footage, just because I'm a huge Bigfoot fan. And then I've got one guitar left that I've not named. I had one called Maggie. That the first time I played, it was in a bar called Maguire's in Liverpool.
Yeah.
So I sold that one. But
yeah.
Yeah. But I think we're getting up to the hour mark now. I don't want to keep too much of your time as we're cracking on. I have the habit of, I was talking to Charles Wesley Godwin the other day, and he got up at 5 a.m. bless him, to like talk with me. And it was seeing the light change from dark to light behind him, and I've seen you just slowly sink into darkness.
I'm just sat in the dark now.
Yeah. So let's bring it up lightly from talking about spirits and snakes and things. And
me sat in the dark talking about spirits. Really good. I'm really not going to get chased by anything here.
So obviously you've got a tour that you can't really talk about yet, but if you follow you on social media, you'll find out about that soon enough. You've got the Firecracker EP. Are you looking at doing a full-length record? Because I know there's a load of conversations about the validity or, point of albums now, instead of just doing single releases or EPs.
It's a potential, shall I say, for now. It's potentially going to happen at some point.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much, Emilia. Yeah. This has been really fun. I want to do a part 2 when we can all finally meet face to face. Like, I've been trying to go further afield with these Zoom ones just because I want to kind of save, because I've got like Stevie O'Connor who lives like 20 minutes away from me, but I don't want to, so I may as well wait until I can do all these face to face. I can talk to Josh face to face so I can tell him how much of a dickhead he is. Without him being able to hang up on me, I can lock all the doors and then be like, this is what's wrong with our relationship. Yeah. But so thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about whiskey kisses and things like that. So so we've got a lot more to talk about.
Whiskey kisses.
Yeah. But thanks so much. I'm gonna hit stop recording on this, and thank you so much, Emilia.
And there you have it, folks. Episode 11 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. Go get Emilia Quinn's Firecracker EP right now over on her Bandcamp. Go onto her Facebook, Emilia Quinn Music. Go support this type of music, especially in the UK, because this is the type of country music and roots and traditional. This is the type of genres and artists that are going to become what defines the scene, I believe, in the next 5 or so years. And I include myself in that. I'm lucky enough that I'm surrounded by such phenomenal artists that I'm considering friends, and this scene's just gonna be fucking kicking off so much more, and it's such a getting on the ground floor, guys. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope you've had a lovely episode. I hope you've had a lovely week. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Go forth and have fun. I know I am. See you next time, guys. Peace.